What is up, everybody? Welcome to Dedicated to the Craft, a podcast brought to you by Ballast Brewing Company. I am Jeff Lozano, your host. Today, my co-host will be Jason Big J Carlson from Home Brew Mart, and we're having a awesome, epic, interesting conversation with Mo from Deft Brewing right here, homegrown, Bay City. And then we're going to bring on a little Chuy Hernandez, our sous chef from Ballast Point Miramar's location, and he's going to spit a new recipe that he prepared specifically for this show and what beer to pair with it. So stay tuned, crack open a beer, enjoy our conversation, and let's hang out. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dedicated to the Craft, a podcast brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. I am Jeff Lozano. I am your host. And today we're bringing back the notorious Jason Carlson as my co-host for today's episode. And we are going to have a great chat with the marvelous Mo from Deft Brewing Company. What's up, Jason?
What's happening? What's happening?
Dude, what is up? You look official.
Hey, Hey. Dude, well, I miss being at work, so I thought I'd dress up.
You just bring the debauchery to you. I like it, dude.
This hat comes out quite a bit at work, So.
I always think about when, like, if something went down and we were just wiped out, and the future generations or whatever are kind of rummaging through our stuff, and they go, "Oh, this Jason guy, let's see what he was all about." You walk into that room and they find that hat.
I was just talking about this with a friend of mine the other day. This is just like an archive of like music and like pop culture history.
It's smart.
It's like 1,000 years from now and everything's gone, this room will still be here, and whoever finds it, like, what is this stick? What is that?
Dude, that's like a bunker. There's no nuclear anything that can penetrate the walls of that much rock.
It's solid rock.
You know what's funny, man? I was really just thinking, I've been thinking a lot about the first time that you came onto the show when you were talking about music and beer, and we were talking about beer pairings with music. Everybody thinks about food, but nobody really starts to think outside of that. And we were talking and you were like, dude, music pairings. And I love that idea. I absolutely love that idea, because if you really think about it, you do kind of have a different kind of taste depending on what kind of music you're listening to, whether you're at this kind of concert, whether you're at, if you're at a symphony, or whether you're at a rock concert and stuff like that. I know it happens to me, and I know damn well it happens to you. So, yeah, so that was a great idea. I think it's really interesting. And so I kind of wanted to make it somewhat of a regular thing every time that you come on. And I wanted to ask you, dude, right now, what beer and what either band or song are you pairing?
Okay, so just before we started all this, we went to I have a beer. I have an English brown here from Deft, and I immediately thought Iron Maiden and the song "The Trooper." Of course, they're my favorite band, so I'm a little biased. I'm always thinking about them.
I know that's your favorite band.
It is my favorite band. They're my favorite band. Actually, you know what? So for my birthday is a few days ago, and a really good friend of mine, I've known him for like 30 years, gave me a picture of Nico McBrain, the drummer, a signed picture. Oh, it's awesome. Oh my gosh.
What?
Yeah.
That's an awesome, for a guy like you, that is, can you top that?
Oh,
you can't really top that, right?
Well, my nieces baked me some homemade bread, so
come on.
That's
I know you love your niece.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
But Jesus, dude, this is a drummer's autograph from your favorite band. So you're going English brown, it was?
Yeah, the English brown. It is the tan, the tourmaline tan.
Okay. So when you're drinking that beer, it kind of makes sense to listen to Iron Maiden for you in your world, even though Iron Maiden probably goes good with everything?
It was the first thing that came to mind. And yeah, so it's actually pretty good pairing. But you know what? That just happened before the show started. The one I was actually really thinking on, I think I actually talked about it on the last show, but I've been really into this record, and I've actually found like 5 more of these. And it's called Homegrown. It's all San Diego-based singer-songwriters from
that's dope.
The 70s through the 80s. And the one where is it at?
Wait, is Homegrown just the name of like this thing that goes to different cities, and like a Homegrown is released in Louisiana and one's released
San Diego only thing, okay? And it's I think later 101 KGB FM ended up taking it over, but they just go around and feature bands and singers and songwriters from San Diego, and a lot of these people actually write songs about San Diego.
That is, I think you were talking about it. Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, so I've actually been really into Swingin' Friar and the first Homegrown album.
Yes, Swingin' Friar Ale, which is you can't get too much more San Diego than that beer, and then an album that's dedicated to our town.
It is, and the first thing I thought of when I went to go pick up beer a few days ago was Swingin' Friar. I have to have some Swingin' Friar when I'm listening.
Dude, that's beautiful.
I know it, and the beer's awesome. It's a pale ale, very light and crisp, but it packs a lot of flavor with those Simcoe hops. It feels like you're drinking like a nice good, IPA, but it's not going to hit you like a 7%. It's going to be, I think it's 5%. So yeah, it's something something with a lot of good flavor. You can drink a few of, and it's not going to put you out.
And you're absorbing the San Diego-ness of it.
Yeah,
from both ends. That's cool, dude.
So one of the cool. There's 2 songs on here that are awesome. The first one is the first one on the album, Mission Beach Boogie. It's great. I mean, it really just kind of puts you in the time of San Diego, and it seems like really San Diego hasn't really changed much. Just the vibe and the spirit of this album is so San Diego, and this came out before I was born, and I still feel that. I still feel that spirit coming out of here. So that it just lets me know that San Diego really hasn't changed much,
Dude, I love that. And I want to bring that up right now when we bring Mo onto the show, because Mission Beach might be my favorite spot of San Diego ever. I don't think that there's any place. I lived there for like 5 years, and it's just my favorite pocket of land that is San Diego. So we'll get to that because I have an interesting story for that. But I'm sipping on Aloha, a little bit of Aloha Sculpin, baby, a little hazy Sculpin. Nice. And the album, it's a song, but the whole album kind of fits in with this particular vibe in my world, is the specials. It has to be the special self-titled album that when I am going outside, or when I used to be able to go outside and fire up a grill or hang out with buddies and have a backyard, little barbecue, if I was drinking some Aloha Sculpin and a message to you, Rudy, came on, like just to kick it off, or any song off the specials album, self-titled, I was in heaven. I was like, okay, this just makes sense. And sometimes it's this weird thing that you get sometimes when you're on vacation, or when you're absorbing the moment with a buddy, or you're absorbing a concert stuff, where you kind of do this thing where you kind of look around and you scan it so that you don't forget it. It hits you sometimes where I'm hanging out, and the perfect song, the perfect vibes with the perfect people come on, and I have to just kind of look at what I'm drinking just so that it could be, okay, let's remember this. Let's fully absorb it. Mm-hmm. And Aloha Sculpin, when I thought about a song or a album or a band to go with it, the Specials was the first one that came to mind.
Yeah, so they're classic, man. Specials, they're classic.
Yeah, super classic. All right, man. Well, that's cool. I love this. We gotta keep doing this.
I want to do more of these. This is cool. I've been really kind of getting into it and pulling out my records. I mean, I have a record collection. I have like 3,000 records.
Yeah, you look like you have a record collection.
It's massive. So I've just been pulling stuff out and listening to a lot of things. So yeah, this is kind of cool.
Dude, very rad, very cool. So listen, we're gonna bring on our buddy Mo, the marvelous Mo. So Deft Brewing Company is who we're gonna be talking about today. a little brewery down in Bay Park, right around the corner from our original spot, Home Brew Mart. Mo is awesome, dude. I'm so excited to talk to this guy.
Yeah, Mo.
What's up, dude?
Happening?
Hey guys, how are you?
Awesome.
Fabulous, sir. Are you kidding? I'm
Yeah.
about to crack open a Deft beer.
It's
I'm
good
on
to
cloud
see you
nine,
without
sir.
masks.
I know.
Yeah.
Earlier today, we were about to hold. You always have to do the double take, right? Now, if you own a spot, when anybody that walks in, you're like, oh, okay, this guy has a mask. It's either the virus or we're about to get mugged. But no, we were cool. We came in and we dropped off some liquid love for you. Really excited to talk to you, Mo. I like what you're doing over there at Deft.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Oh, let's crack open one of these bad boys.
Yeah,
all right, Mo. Hey, listen.
The ground cracked open.
Considering that you are the founder, owner, and head brewer over at Deft Brewing Company, I have a Belgian single and an English porter. Which one am I popping up in first?
Oh, I'd probably start with that Belgian single first.
Oh, let's do it. It. It's called the Austere Abbot.
Yes.
All right, and we're gonna get to talking about that beer a little bit, but wow,
good one.
Sounds really good coming out of that Deft can. Mo, so one of the things, so here's the thing that I was thinking about. I had bumped into a guy that lived in Hawaii at a bar, and I was living in inner San Diego. I was living in North Park area. I live there now, but prior I was also living there with some roommates and stuff like that. And I had always wanted to live at the beach, and I was still doing a nursing gig. I was a nurse before I joined the industry, the battalion. And I remember vividly having a conversation with this dude from Hawaii. He lived there. I don't know his name or anything like that. It was just a couple of beers that we had. And he was talking to me about living on the island. And I had always had an affinity towards the beach and stuff like that. And so I asked him, hey, well, it must be rad. You must be living right in the off the coast. You must be living the aloha life and all that stuff. And he told me, he goes like, you know what? No, not really. Actually, we live in a pretty industrial spot on the island. And I really don't live close to the beach at all. I have to go there every day. I have to drive. And something happened to me where I asked him, I was like, dude, why aren't you surfing every day and just kicking your feet up or digging them into the sand and drinking beer all day and hanging out, living that Hawaiian lifestyle? And while I'm saying that, I felt like I was talking to myself. I live in San Diego. I want to live near the beach. I want to have this chill. I live in a vacation spot. And I'm telling this guy over here that he should be doing what I should be doing. And I wasn't doing it. So after that conversation, I kind of regrouped. I thought about it for a little bit, and I decided to move to Mission Beach. We were talking about earlier, Jason. Yeah. It prompted me to move to Mission Beach, and I lived on the coast, like steps from the water, right next to Belmont Park, where that famous roller coaster is.
Yeah.
And I made a decision to quit nursing and get a job in the brewing industry. That conversation with Hawaiian, whoever the hell he is, really made me take the plunge. And it reminded me of your story, Mo, because you kind of did something similar and you were pursuing your dream. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you into brewing and a little bit about your history?
Yeah. So I started a mechanical engineer. I was in basically I was a consultant for a long period of time. I was in the consumer electronics industry for a long time, doing all sorts of different engineering type positions, mostly in like supply chain logistics, stuff that is very necessary, but it's also not all that exciting.
Sounds wild. It sounds wild.
Yeah, I know. We were wild back then.
Frat boys, just.
But no, I was, to some degree, I was enjoying it. But I was with the company for a long period of time. I needed to move on, and it just happened that they were moving our division to Dallas, of all places. And I had lived all over the country, and we moved out here to San Diego about, I guess it's about 15 years ago. And we love this place. And so we didn't want to move.
Yeah,
So,
once you're in San Diego, I mean, why would you want to go anywhere else?
oh yeah, no, and you know, I grew up in Minnesota. I moved to Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix for quite a while. When I was a consultant, I was living in Chicago, Houston, Boston. Went to business school in Philadelphia. So I've kind of been all over the country, and fell in love with San Diego. So and so while I was here in San Diego, I had been homebrewing, and you know, I didn't have this idea or this crazy idea that I was a super crazy good brewer, and that I should start up a brewery. It was more that I knew I was a good brewer. I was a good technical brewer, and I also knew that I had kind of that there's a skill set to that's necessary to successfully start up a business in general, but also, you know, a brewery. And it's not just being able to brew good beer. You know, you need to be a business person.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be a manager, an effective manager. You need to be an engineer, because we're all tinkering, and we're all, especially those of us in the small breweries. I mean, we're all like, you know, we're creating these Franken, you know, whatever contraptions to, you know, to figure out how to solve a certain problem in our process. You know, it's just part of the deal. I came from the engineering world. I had started a small business when I was very early in my career, where I learned a lot. I didn't make a ton of money, but I learned a lot from that. So I had that
fantasy football.
What's that?
Was it the fantasy football software that you did back in college?
Yeah, it was. You read about it, or you heard about it?
Oh, I know you, sir.
Yeah, Fantasy CompuSports was the name of the company. It's a little company. We were so far ahead of our game of our time. I mean, this is back when literally that industry, the fantasy football and fantasy sports, was probably a few $1 million in the entire industry. Now it's like, you know, what, hundreds of billions of dollars.
It's crazy. Like with ESPN fantasy sports, you could have sold that to. I mean, I'm not going to make you feel bad about it, but it's a crazy industry, and you guys were kind of a little too soon for it, right?
We were on the front end, but I mean, granted, I was I started this company in my dorm room with my my roommate at the time. And we created this software package, and we were selling it, and we made a little bit of money, and we learned a hell of a lot. And but it kind of stoked those you know, entrepreneurial fires, I guess, you know, and we learned a lot from that. So it was a good experience. But you know, if we were probably a couple of years later, and probably, you know, if we were a little more business savvy, I guess, we might have been, you know, because it was the ESPNs, the Yahoos of the world that essentially took over that industry. So so had we been a little more savvy, maybe we could have sold to one of those guys. But yeah, we learned a lot, and I still play fantasy football. I love it, and well, you know, again, it kind of got me to where I am now, where it kind of pushed me to take a risk and actually start Deft Brewing, and we're very proud of what we've done so far. Yeah, we're not the biggest brewery around, but we feel like we're really successful. Folks really seem to like us. Our reviews are awesome. You know, everything's you know, going well. You know, all things considered.
Yeah, and I remember you coming to Home Brew Mart a couple of years ago. I think it was the first time I met you. Couple years ago in Home Brew Mart, coming in, getting grains and stuff.
You know, I've been going to Home Brew Mart for a long time. You know, actually, that was probably the first seminar or you know, brewing class that I ever went to was there at Home Brew Mart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. So and so when I was a home brewer, I used to go to you know, Brew Mart and another another shop in North Park all the time, and
who was
the home brewer?
You remember who?
The home brewer, yes,
the home brewer.
Yeah, I love those guys at Home Brewer too. So, you know, really have an affinity for both of your shops. Put it that way. So,
well, there's a lot of guys that decided to quit their day jobs and pursue their passion, and there's not a lot of places to go in order to start that. Whether it's a hobby that you're already thinking about going pro with, or whether you're pro sometimes. For a lot of these guys, Home Brew Mart has always been a beacon, right, of light to guide a lot of home brewers that that knew how to brew and were really good home brewers that needed to step up their game depending on what their mission was. And there was an army of, it's like a Genius bar, but for beer at Home Brew Mart, where if you had a question, they were quick to answer. And I've heard personal accounts from a lot of now big breweries, head brewers for those breweries, that the piece of advice that they got from Jason at Home Brew Mart really changed the quality of his beer for the better. Did you have some of those experiences at Home Brew Mart?
The combination of my experiences with the team over there at Home Brew Mart and at Home Brewer, but also through the homebrew clubs, and I know you guys, even some of the folks there at Ballast Point have, they're members of Quaff. I'm a member of Quaff. Quaff is a great homebrew club, and shout out to Quaff. They're phenomenal.
But, they're.
I mean, between those three entities, the two homebrew stores I just mentioned, and Quaff, I learned probably 90% of what I've learned in brewing came from those three. So
yeah, they're a great resource. They're definitely
some medals and stuff for your beers too, right?
We've won. I think we're up to about 15 medals or awards for our beers in the last year and a half that we've been entering competitions. So we're so far so good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's very impressive that you're such a decorated brewer for the amount of time that Deft Brewing has been.
Doing home brewing. I went to Home Brew Mart and the Home Brewer and learning things over there. It's how I started as well. I took the home brewing class at Home Brew Mart twice.
Now you teach it.
Yeah, now I teach it.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty cool. Mo, so you're this mechanical engineer. You missed the boat on the fantasy game, but good on you because you rode the wave into professional brewing.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this idea to open up a brewery. Now, when you were thinking about opening up a brewery of your own, had you already had an idea that you wanted to produce beers that were influenced by Western Europe?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was, again, when I came up with the crazy idea to start a brewery and start Deft Brewing, at that point, I wasn't thinking, I hadn't been thinking for 10 years that I was going to start a brewery. It was just kind of things came together. And part of what came together is the fact that I'm actually, quite honestly, very new to the craft beer game. I have been a fan of imported beers for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I consider myself a mutt. I'm half Colombian. My mother's Colombian and my father from Europe. He was born in what is now Serbia, used to be Yugoslavia, but from a German farming community. So our family comes from the Black Forest region of Germany.
Okay. Yeah.
So given that, I've got a lot of things in my life where the Colombian influence is very strong. And then you've got the European influence and the German influence. And part of that is in my drinking habits, I guess.
You're a boozer, Mo. We all know it.
I know.
Never trust a sober brewer.
Days, all my buddies were drinking some really bad swill. But I had a couple of buddies who were German majors in college, and they got me into German imports. And so I really got into those. later got into British beers, and then later in life, I actually lived in Philadelphia for a couple of years and lived about 3 blocks away from Monk's Cafe. If you've never been there, it's probably one of the best Belgian pubs anywhere outside of Belgium.
Wow.
Called
Good
Monk's
to know.
Cafe, and fantastic. But I lived like three blocks away, so I just got so spoiled on Belgian beers. And so between those 3 regions, Germany, the British Isles, and Belgium, I just fell in love with all those different beers. And so when I started home brewing, it was just a natural that I would start focusing on those more traditional styles.
Yeah.
And I got pretty good at it. And you brew what you love, and you get good at what you brew. And that's
the philosophy.
I think things are, seem to be going well, and people seem to really love the beers that we put out, those more traditional styles. And people ask, why would you do?
It shows in your beers, It's why it shows in your beers the love of what you do, And
thank you.
Yeah. I mean, just be how dedicated you've been last couple of years. Just starting a brand new venture, coming out in a scene where the majority of the breweries everywhere are doing IPAs. You go in there and you see
like for sure
4 IPAs on the menu, and you're coming out with something completely different. Beers that have been around a long time that a lot of people don't know about, especially West Coast, East Coast, I guess. I don't know. West Coast style IPAs and all that just kind of been dominant.
Yeah. Well, look, dude, when somebody walks into your brewery and they're from Belgium and they say, hey, this is like an inexpensive vacation to Belgium because your beers are so representative of what they're making over there. That is probably the highest praise that you can get. If you're from these certain pockets of land that are, you don't talk about their beer, my friend. You don't criticize their beer. They made it. They're the ones that started the revolution. And for somebody from Belgium to walk into your spot and give you those kind of kudos, that's awesome. I'm drinking it right now. I'm drinking your Austere Abbot, the Belgian single. Tell me a little bit about this because it is delicious, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Where'd you get the name?
Kind of what's the name? Our entry level beer into the Belgians. That's kind of a it's kind of designed as a what the monks would drink in their austerity measures. They can't drink all the the triples and the quads and the really strong stuff that they would then sell. They would have to drink something for themselves, and it would be a nice lighter, crisper beer that they could drink while they're doing their work. So
where did that name come from? Austere Abbot. How'd you come up with that?
Exactly from the story I just mentioned. It talks about the the austerity measures that those monks would have to live under, and why they would be drinking that kind of beer.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's delicious, dude. It is delicious.
Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question for you. The name Deft Brewing, where did that come from? How did that come about?
Oh yeah, that's
solid name.
Well, it's of course it was somewhat of a brainstorming session. We went through a number of different names or ideas, but that one actually came by pretty quickly, and it stuck, and we tended to we went with it. We ran with it. So as you guys, I'm sure you guys know, but those outside the industry might not know, is when it comes to brewery names or beer names, it's a trademarking game. You have to be really careful about using names not only of other beers or of other breweries, but also wines and spirits and bars and things like that. Yeah. So coming up with our brewery name, we needed to do something we wanted to do something that was simple, that meant something, that wasn't a made up word, that wasn't a name, And this was a word that actually I've used in the past, but most people here in the U.S. don't know that word or don't use it very regularly. But it is an English word that basically means demonstrating skill or cleverness. So it's usually it's usually used to describe an artist or something that's very artistically done. And that one single word that's, it's only a 4-letter word, but it's a very strong, powerful word.
Most 4-letter words are.
Want people to think about us and our beer. And to me, that's really cool. And what I also like about it is the fact that a lot of people don't know the word. So it opens up that conversation to
it stays in the psyche.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brother, I just cracked open. Mo, I love your name. Skilled and clever. And I can already tell that those are your attributes as well. Listen, I just popped open Dawn of the Deft, your English porter.
Uh-huh.
It smells delicious. I haven't even taken a sip of it yet. It smells delicious.
Awesome.
And I think I glanced at your beer board and there was a couple of ribbons, my friend, around that particular beer. Is this one of your flagships?
Yeah, I'd say that. And that's probably our most successful beer in terms of competition. That one's done very well in LA International, San Diego International, New York, the US
good.
Beer Tasting Championships. So yeah, that one's done very well. It's
so good.
It's a good solid beer. Yeah.
Dude, it's delicious. I had a question for you, brother. Because I'm just curious. I'm naturally curious because, like Jason was talking about, in San Diego and in the state of craft beer that is Southern California, but the world at this point, not the world, the United States, there is a leaning on hop forward, aromatic, citrus bombs, milkshake this and milkshake that. You decided to take the approach of traditional styles with somewhat of a Western tweak. And it's fair to say that, right? That you got some styles that were traditional and then you tweaked them in such a way that were going to be a little bit more approachable to anybody that was looking for a West Coast beer. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
And when you did that and you realized that you were producing and pumping out world-class beer, really good versions of traditional styles, did it make you kind of pedal back a little bit and maybe go to fundamentals and say, hey, I was kind of tweaking these styles so they could be approachable, but people don't know that they still like this style and it's in its freshest form, which is a big problem whenever it's crossing the pond, like you said.
Exactly.
When you started making beers that were traditional and true to style, but fresh, are you starting to realize that people around here, as crafty and as hop-headed as they might be, are still looking for a really good English brown or Belgian single? And has that changed the way you write recipes?
Has it changed? No, not really, because that's kind of how we've been doing it. I think, it's really like some of our IPAs. That's really where I was kind of I wanted to make it a little more approachable for the West Coast audience, I guess. So like if you do a traditional English IPA, it's probably not going to be as well accepted as a beer that's brewed just like an English IPA. It's a lot more malt forward, maybe a little sweeter. But then you finish it with some nice, well-known American, hops like a Mosaic, let's say, or something.
Yeah.
That will get it over the hump, and it becomes a very popular beer. So we've done that with some of our IPAs, but to be honest with you, I haven't done that much with most of the other beers because I thought I'd have to do more of that. But when we, as we kind of moved along the first few months after being open, I realized that, we did get folks coming in looking at the menu, saying, where the hell are your IPAs? I want a milkshake IPA or something.
Get
we
the hell out of here.
That, but not that much of it. And more so, we were getting a lot of people coming in saying, wow, this is a refreshing menu. And I love the fact that you've got a bitter up there. You know, I love the fact that you've got a number of Belgians up there. And so I think we've kind of developed a customer base and a clientele that really appreciates that. And granted, we've got a couple of IPAs. We've got 2 IPAs on the board right now. We usually have 2 or 3. We won't give up on IPAs, and I still love IPAs every once in a while. But our menu is representative of the way I order beer when I go out. Is, you know, maybe 20% of the time, 15-20% of the time, I'll order an IPA. The rest of the time, I'm, you know, looking for something really unique and interesting, and you know, that's what I'm trying to provide to our customer base.
What was the craft beer that got you into craft beer?
Son, this is so good.
The craft beer that got me into craft beer, I would say probably the first craft beer I really got into was probably Carl Strauss Red Trolley, I would say.
Okay. Nice.
Amber Ale.
Yeah, I've always liked, you know, let's say like those kind of mid malty type beers. Irish Reds and such. And
I have Red here. I'll crack that open in a minute.
Yeah.
I think that was an introductory beer for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I think so. That was that, and like Fat Tire from New Belgium was also you know, similar, kind of along those lines too. Those are some of the ones that got me into craft beer. I mentioned I was actually into more import beer for a long time before I really got into craft beer.
Well, and it makes you a better brewer when you're trying to replicate what you like to drink, and you just happen to drink styles that have been around forever and have been refined. It makes you a better brewer because there's a lot less to hide behind when it comes to these core traditional style beers. And at least in my experience, a lot of brewers out there can get away with a lot by adding a little cacao or a little vanilla or a little coffee. And when you're brewing the majority of your beers as traditional styles, they're very subject to have their flaws kind of, I guess, ousted. They're very delicate, and you have to be very careful, because if you don't condition your beer right, you're going to not have a good beer, and 2, it's like a slap in the face to the style. And it's you know, you're trying as a brewer so hard to keep the integrity of this particular Kolsch or Schwarz beer intact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you mentioned it about having Belgians come in here. We have a lot of our customer base includes a lot of Brits who are you know, regular fans here. A number of Germans and Belgians. So when they give me, you know, they gave me compliments on those beers from those regions.
Yeah.
I get chills all the time, but I also feel a little bit of pressure too. And so I always kind of like, when we introduce a new beer, let's say a new German style that I've never done before, like our Weizenbock, we've got on tap right now. I almost
got that one too.
Oh yeah, we just introduced that just about a month ago or something, and so, you know, I'm always a little sheepish with some of our regulars who are German national. And
that's a Deft in Taxes, right?
Deft in Taxes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. And the good news is your name, they are loving it, so it's delicious.
Here, let me ask you something, Mo. And this is kind of just a state of the union kind of question. You have done really well positioning Deft Brewery to where it is now organically. I think that's something that you've been very proud of, where you've been able to say that there's been really no marketing. It's just been word of mouth, and slowly but surely people will find good beer. If you brew it, they will come. And because of that organic growth in a very fast-paced, forever evolving industry that is craft beer in San Diego, have you found that it's better to play the long game, or have you started thinking a little bit more about how to get Deft and Deft's beer kind of out there within earshot?
Oh yeah, we definitely have to, and that's in our plans. So my partner Kevin Malik, he lives in Scottsdale, Arizona, a good friend of mine. He's kind of our remote partner, And he and I are always talking strategy and whatnot, what we need to do. And it's always been our approach to start slow, start small, build organically, try to build through word of mouth. Yeah, we don't have the, tens of thousands of followers on our Instagram or Facebook feeds, which at Deft Brewing it is. But
that's right.
so,
No,
yeah,
plug it right now, because I want everybody to listen that's listening to
Exactly.
do their themselves a favor and go taste some of Deft's brewing. So where can people find your beer? Where can they find you? Where can we get updated with everything that Deft's doing?
Yeah, so at Deft Brewing on Facebook or Instagram, or www.deftbrewing.com, and you can order beers online there, or check out our menu, our beer menu, find out information about what's going on here. We've got some interesting things going on, of course, with the current circumstances where things have slowed down a little bit, but we've got Lost Cause Meadery, a fantastic mead maker from
Shout out.
Yep.
the Mirlani area. They moved their main operations to right behind us, and also we've got a fantastic a restaurateur is Cucina Caprese.
Ooh, I like how you said that. They sound official.
Giuseppe and Daria from Cucina Caprese, they are starting a wood-fired kitchen in the back of our patio, actually. So that was all planned to be done here in March. Of course, with current circumstances, we had to push things out. But we're excited about where we are going here. Not only here at Deft, but this little neighborhood here is kind of expanding. We've got some cool businesses moving in, and I think it'll be good. So we're constantly looking at what we can do in the future, how we can grow this thing. But we really believe that just that organic growth and word of mouth growth has really paid off for us to date, and hopefully it'll continue to pay off. And we've got such an incredibly supportive customer base, and that's helping us through this current situation too.
It's amazing.
And,
it's amazing.
I love it.
Just in the mere time when I swung by the brewery to drop off your care package, mask on and everything, I was like, what? How many people are showing up to your spot? Do they not know what's going on? And it was just people in support of your brewery. And you and me had a small little chat about what it means to be successful is not necessarily barrel output. Sometimes it means how many people in moments of need, and you never wish this upon any brewery, right? But when the time comes and it's unexpected, you kind of put your ear to the wall and you go, all right, let's see what happens. Let's see just how much support I will get in these particular circumstances. Deft Brewing, people were coming in and out of your spot. It was amazing to see, and you knew everybody's name.
Yeah, we've got a really tight community, and I hear that word all the time, community here, which is part of why I'm really bummed about the current circumstances, because I see these folks coming in for only a couple of minutes at a time. I want to get back to the position where we've got them in here hanging out with us, for an hour or two at a time, hanging out in our tasting room or on our patio, and we can chat, and they bring in their dogs, and they can have their wood-fired pizzas, and we can all just kind of hang out. I miss that. I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
man.
We all can't wait to get back to that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, listen, man, look what you're doing over there. And before we leave, by the way, I have to ask you something. I know for a fact that you've been growing hops in your patio, sir, and that you threw them into an IPA. But when I heard what the name of the IPA was, it kind of threw me back a little bit. Patio hops, I don't know, I forgot what the exact name was, but it said "and geysers." Yes. What? We're all brewers here, sir. You can't just throw in geysers and not expect me to ask what happened. So you guys are growing hops on your patio, and then you named the beer. What was the name of the beer, and what was the story?
Yeah, patio hops and geysers. So that was last year's fresh hop beer. We actually did 2 fresh hops this year, and we'll continue to do them every year because we do grow hops on the patio. But patio hops and geysers, that was our hops here on the patio. So you should come and check them out because they're quite amazing.
Are they wearing masks? Every hop
typically,
could be wearing a
yeah.
little mask.
Typically, hops would be harvested in September and they'd be gone by October. They'd shrivel up and they'd be gone by October, November. Our hops are still green in January, February, March. We just harvested a couple of months ago, actually.
Wow.
But
Really?
yeah. So there I don't know if it's the microclimate here or what, but it's pretty cool. But patio hops and geysers from last year, that we harvested right around January, and at the end of January of last year, 2019, we actually had a major flood right within Deft Brewing. We actually a water line, an 8-inch water line underneath our building popped, and we had a geyser inside. So we flooded our street from the inside out. It was crazy. So yeah, we had.
I was wondering where the geyser was coming from.
Yep,
because we all have dried hop fermenters before, sir. So I was like, oh, I wonder what geyser this is referring to. But yours was a lot worse.
That was our unfortunate flood, which we at the time thought was going to kill us. We persevered. It made us stronger, just like this current situation. We're all worried, of course, and it's gonna be tough. But we're optimistic that we're going to persevere and we'll make it through this and we'll be stronger.
You're doing something really special at Deft Brewing. You're making people really appreciate what it means to be a community, what it means to be loyal to their local brewery, and you're giving people great beer along the way as well, and reminding people what beautiful classic styles there are out there. It's not all just Berliner Weisses and milkshake IPAs. You're bringing back the good stuff. So I'm really happy that you're doing that. I've been to your brewery a couple of times. The beer has been phenomenal.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'm really, I think me and Jason can both say that we're super happy for, and we appreciate your support throughout the years and all the times that you stepped across our Home Brew Mart threshold.
Yeah,
and
many times. Yeah.
I need to go over there, and I'm basically just gonna have a beer pairing day, maybe week, where I'm just gonna order a slice. I'm gonna pair it with one of your beers, and then we're gonna dissect those things, and I'm gonna figure out which one is the best. And because that's one of my favorite things to do. I think beer pairing is the best way to really either heighten your beer or heighten your meal. It's the superior pairing alcohol, in my opinion. But we won't go there. But where we will go is we're going to go with our sous chef, Chuy Hernandez, who is the chef at Miramar. Some of the good feedback that I've been getting from the show is the food segment, the beer and food pairings that Chuy, our sous chef from Miramar, has been writing up for us. So he's been writing recipe at home and exclusively for the show, exclusively for the podcast. And he's going to come on right now so he could talk about his next creation. Hawaiian fish tacos and grilled pineapple salsa that you can make at home, and hopefully you're pairing with, what is it, Chuy?
Aloha
Boom.
Sculpin, yeah.
Boom. Right here, ready to rock and roll. Let's do this properly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Salud, caballeros.
Salud.
Welcome, Chuy.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, listen, dude, this is a great recipe. Hawaiian fish tacos. I mean, who doesn't like that? And then grilled pineapple salsa. I think it's a perfect pairing for a tropical, citrusy, zesty beer like Aloha Sculpin. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Right. Well, the first thing we thought about the Aloha Sculpin, it's a nice hazy beer, tropical flavors on it. So it's nothing better than pineapple flavor into something, and right now, like we've been saying before, we're gonna go through like this rough week, so we planning to start eating a little bit healthy, and I mean fish tacos, something that everybody can put on the table and add like the pineapple flavor into, and then obviously enjoy with a beautiful and amazing, I think that's one of my favorite beers from Ballast Point, which is like the Aloha. Perfect flavors for the tacos.
dude, you're getting this crazy because there's already like a pineapple component to the Aloha Sculpin, and you guys are drinking it, so you guys can interject with what you guys are getting from it. But I get guava, I get grapefruit, I get pineapple. The body's a little bit fuller or richer because it's a hazy, and I can just imagine that getting just cutting through the first bite of that taco, just fucking lathered with the salsa. So in your recipe, you have mahi mahi as the fish of choice. If somebody out there's like, yo, I don't like mahi mahi, is there another fish that we can potentially throw on there? I can't find it at my grocery store. What can they substitute the mahi mahi with?
Exactly. Right now that I'm planning to use mahi mahi is the best option. Mahi mahi flavor. The fish has a really particular flavor. It's not too fishy, but it's when you grill it, when you bake it, it's perfectly. It doesn't lose the fishy flavor, But also it's a little hard to get for some people. I mean, they're not gonna have it on their grocery store, so they can use tilapia, they can use ono, they can use some cod if they want it. But yeah, so it has to be a whitefish.
Mo, what do you think, man? What do you think? And when you think Hawaiian fish tacos with a pineapple salsa and with the beer that you're drinking right now, what's coming to mind?
Yeah, no, I think it's a nice pairing. I mean, I've always loved a good IPA, especially a fruity IPA with my fish tacos. So this one,
it's a solid pairing, like IPAs and tacos, fish tacos.
Yep.
We're almost cheating. We're almost kind of cheating with Aloha Sculpin. You could pair that with pretty much. You can pair it with a tire, and it'd probably be delicious. Dude, Chuy, so in your recipe, because I'm looking at your recipe right now, it's going to be as soon as this episode goes up, then the recipe will soon follow, so that everybody listening can make it at home. In the grilled pineapple salsa, what are we looking for? What's the flavor component from that salsa, and what is it doing to the actual taco?
Well, actually, the most important thing of the taco is going to be the salsa. To be honest with you, so the grilled pineapple, capers. This is a little something that not a lot of people add into the salsa. Capers is going to give a little salty flavor into the tacos. So and also the bitterness from the beer and also the sweetness from the pineapple is going to be a perfect combination. So it's perfect.
Yeah, that sounds really good, dude. Can you bake this? You said you can bake it?
You can bake it or you can grill it. So the recipe that I'm going to send out to you guys is I'm going to wrap everything on foil paper, and I'm going to put it on top of the grill. So it's going to be baked, but at the same time, it's going to be grilled. So,
dude, I love it. I love it. Listen, you guys, to the two of you that can't see this recipe, that salsa has a cord pineapple. And when you say cord, Chuy, and people can Google the technique, but you're just saying to take the middle out of the pineapple and you just want the rim.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to use that. It's kind of like hard to eat, so that's why you can cut the pineapple in half, and then just be careful and cut the center with the same knife, and that's plenty. But a lot of people, they like to use the core, but I mean it's really particular to whatever you want to do.
And there's diced red pepper, and then there's half a jalapeno with the seeds removed. I've noticed that when I'm pairing like a spicy beer, a spicy food with a beer that's as citrusy and carbonated and hoppy like this IPA is, you got to be really careful, because even though my chili tolerance, my heat tolerance, I guess, is relatively high, it just gets maximized when I pair it with the beer. It almost aggravates it and makes it hotter. Am I just making that up, or is that a common thing that happens?
It happens all the time. It's really hard to work with the spice. Put it together with the food, and also in this case we pairing with a really hoppy and the carbonation of the beer. But I think that's why we have to remove the seeds. It's gonna be perfect. You're gonna taste the flavor of the jalapeno, but it's not gonna be overwhelmed. It's gonna be perfect spice.
One of the other things that I love about this recipe, and like I said on previous episodes, I said that the dishes will not always or not necessarily contain the beer with which we're
Correct.
pairing. So I don't want there to be some sort of misconception that every recipe, when we pair it with a beer, that there's going to be that beer in the recipe. But Chuy, you're doing a damn good job adding the pairing beer to the recipe. I could see that you actually use a little Aloha Sculpin in the fish.
Yeah, correct. You can add a little bit of the beer on the time where you put it on the fish on the grill. It's perfect. It's gonna get a little bit smokiness into the fish and all the flavors. They're gonna obviously you don't want to use that much beer, just a little bit. So you can add it and help with the cooking process.
That sounds amazing. Hey Mo.
Yes, sir.
With what you've heard already about the description that Chuy's given us about the fish tacos and the salsa, we already know that Aloha Sculpin is just going to be a home run. But is there anything on your list there at Deft Brewing that you would say, hey, you know what, this could probably work too? You know, if you want to cook up the recipe and maybe you don't find any Aloha, but you're close to Deft, what would you think pairs well?
Well, I think some of our lighter beers, like our Bay Park Blonde, I think would go very nicely with that. We've got one that's really interesting one. It's called the Golden Mule, which is a take on a Moscow Mule, and I know Ballast Point has also done something similar to that. It's a blonde ale with lime and ginger. It's something that I've been doing since I was a home brewer. And we find that one goes particularly well with fish tacos, any kind of fish tacos. So yeah, I would probably drink a Golden Mule with what Chuy's describing here.
I'd drink that just because it sounds dope.
The Golden Mule.
The Golden Mule. That sounds like what you drink, Jason. Like it sounds as what you look like you would be drinking.
Yes, that takes more Golden Mule. Thank you.
Like what they give the captain. Listen, guys, Chuy, this sounds phenomenal. And by the way, a lot of people have been sending me some pictures, and they've been showing what they're doing in the kitchen and their renditions of your recipes. People are loving it, man. I got like 3 different pictures of that Sculpin mac and cheese that you did. People are really liking that swinging fryer ale chicken. I mean, people are really doing that. I mean, people are really refining their culinary skills right now, and we're helping them along. So just a big shout out and a big thank you to you, because you're the mastermind behind it. And some of these messages are coming my way. I do my best to forward them to you, but just so you know, people are really loving it, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Dan.
Oh, yeah, man. Look, there's nothing. The only thing that makes beer better is good food to have with it. So that's one of the things that we've been doing here, Mo. We've been really focusing in on, we know the beer's good. You know your beer's good. How can we make it better without necessarily tweaking the beer? Well, you pair something delicious with it, and you do it in such a way that you're actually calculatively trying to enhance certain flavor components of your beer or of the dish. It could just, there's endless possibilities. So we've been having a lot of fun with this. So thanks, Chuy. With that, I think it's time for our Yeah Dog. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah dog.
I'm ready.
Yeah, dog.
I'm ready. We're gonna do an Aloha. I'm gonna do an Aloha Yeah Dog. Boom, baby. Mo. So back, one of our old traditions at Ballast Point is to have what we call Yeah Dogs. All it means, it's a beer shot, and typically it's when you least expect it and when you really don't want it. But we all want it right now. So, hey, hold on, let me get this right. Let me get that right. Cheers, you guys.
Right.
Chuy, thank you. Mo, thank you. Jason, you're the man.
Jason.
Yeah. Thank you,
Cheers,
guys.
Yeah, dog. All right, everybody. That was our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was an awesome conversation with Jason and an awesome conversation with Mo, talking shop, talking beer. Can't wait to try Chuy's recipe, Hawaiian tacos with pineapple salsa. Get out of here. And with a little bit of Aloha Sculpin, you can't beat it. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify. And then tune in and follow us wherever your social media platforms reside, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, wherever you can watch it. Just watch it. Watch it and listen and like. And that's it. Cheers. Enjoy a lot of beer. Bye.